So, guys, I am a little sad today. I really could just cry. I really could, but I won't. So, as y'all know, I live in Alabama, and this article came up on my feed today. So, the title of the article that came up on my Facebook feed is called Trump Cuts Only School Civil Rights Investigator. One. Based in Alabama, leaving families in limbo. I'm going to repeat that. Trump cuts only civil rights investigator based in Alabama, leaving families in limbo. So, today we're going to discuss the implication for students with disabilities and what parents in every state can do to advocate for their children. Let's get into it, guys. So before I continue reading the article, I do want to define what are civil rights or just remind people what civil rights are. And this comes from the Encyclopedia Britannica. And it reads Civil rights are an essential component of democracy. They're guarantees of equal social opportunities and protection under the law, regardless of race, religion, or other characteristics. Examples are the right to vote, to a fair trial, to government services, and to a public education, in contrast to civil liberties, which are freedoms secured by placing restraints on government. Civil rights are secured by positive government action, often in the form of legislation. Where do civil rights come from? Unlike human rights or natural rights, in which people acquire rights inherently, perhaps from nature, civil rights must be given and guaranteed by the power of the state. Therefore, they vary greatly over time, culture, and form of government and tend to follow societal trends that condone or abhor types of discrimination. For example, the civil rights of the LGBTQ community have only recently come to the forefront of political debate in some democracies. So, guys, now that we've defined civil rights, let's continue with the article. A federal investigator who examines civil rights complaints against Alabama schools is the latest target of Trump's administration cuts, one of a series of federal and state actions that could leave families with few options. Victoria Delano, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Victoria Delano is one of thousands of federal probationary employees fired in recent days by the new Department of Government Efficiency team. At the time of her firing, she said she was the only Office of Civil Rights investigator based in Alabama. Her role, advocates and parents say, was crucial for families who believe local schools haven't been handling students' disabilities fairly. And here she is pictured with her family, and it continues to read The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights did not respond to a request for comment. There's no accountability on the local level. There's no accountability on the state level because the state's not going to get involved. And then there's limited federal oversight of things, said Laura Johnson, a Vestavia mom who has spent months fighting for fair treatment of her daughter who has a disability. If OCR is not there, where does that leave our kids who have disabilities? Let's pause it right here. So, Ms. Johnson asked the question, if OCR is not there, where does that leave our kids with disabilities? Guys, we know that students with disability often encounter unique challenges in educational environments such as accessibility issues, inadequate support services, and potential discrimination. So, the absence of a dedicated civil rights investigator means delayed responses, meaning complaints may take longer to address, prolonging the resolution of critical issues, increased burden on families. Parents might need to navigate federal bureaucracies without local assistance, making advocacy more daunting, and the potential for unresolved issues. Without a local investigator, some cases may not receive the attention they require, leaving students without necessary interventions. I used to be an advocate with an organization called Autism Speaks. And we had advocates in every state, and our job was to contact our congressional representatives and to just let them know the laws that we wanted regarding people with disabilities. And guys, I learned that if change doesn't happen at the federal level, then there are just some states, some school districts, some organizations who just will not follow laws to help people with disabilities. They just won't do it. So let's take a look at some of the lawsuits that have been filed against the state of Alabama because children with disabilities were not being educated properly. All right, so this is from 2012. This is Jefferson County Board of Education, an agency of the state of Alabama versus Lolita S., an individual, and as parent, guardian, next friend, and legal representative of a minor. And guys, this case involved a dispute between the Jefferson County Board of Education and a parent over the adequacy of the special education program provided to the child. The central issues were whether the board had fulfilled its obligation to deliver an appropriate education and whether it was required to fund an independent educational evaluation for the student. Guys, this lawsuit was actually multiple lawsuits which allege Alabama discriminates against children with disabilities. This was in 2023, and lawsuits alleging discrimination in residential treatment facilities. Multiple lawsuits were filed accusing Alabama of discriminating against children with disabilities by segregating them into on site schools within residential treatment facilities. These suits contended that such practices deny these children the same educational opportunities as their non disabled peers. Okay, guys, so this is my last one, and it is the Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program versus Alabama State Department of Education. And this was in 2011. The ADAP, representing parents and students, filed a due process complaint asserting that students with emotional disturbances were not receiving appropriate special education services. This complaint highlighted systemic issues, including the lack of proper evaluations and the failure to provide services in the least restrictive environment as mandated by IDEA. So, guys, I showed you those lawsuits from 2011, 2012, and 23 because I wanted you to see that the state of Alabama has had problems educating children with disabilities long before the Trump administration eliminated that one investigator position. And here's the truth. If children with disabilities, if their education was prioritized, the state politicians could make their own office of civil rights, guys. They can make their own office, but they don't because it's not a priority. And that's why that article just made me sad. And the more I talk about it, really, I'm getting kind of angry. Because it's kind of disingenuous. The at least the title is, the meat of it, which I'll post and you can finish reading the rest because it's very long. But the title was like Trump did it and we need it, blah blah blah. Well, he did do it, right? But he's only been in office for 2 months and he's cutting probationary employees in this case. But Jesus, Alabama, what politicians, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? You can literally do it yourself. All right, guys. So, even though Alabama has a scarcity of advocacy organizations dedicated to supporting students with disabilities, there are some things that we can still do to advocate. And the very first thing is you can appeal to your Alabama State Department of Education. They oversee special education services and they provide avenues for parents to resolve disputes related to their child's education. So, guys, this is a dispute process. And so everything is laid out on their dispute resolution page, but you file a complaint, then there's a mediation, there's a due process hearing, and then parents can file a state complaint if they believe the school has violated federal or state special education laws. The next one is the Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program. They provide legally based advocacy services to Alabamians with children, excuse me, with disabilities. And I've done a number of shorts on this program because I just think it's so important. Guys, these advocates, they are lawyers, okay? And an advocacy program is located in every single state. And last but not least, we have the Alabama Parent Education Center. They offer training and information to help parents become effective advocates for their children. Guys, those are the resources I have for the state of Alabama. But remember, we can also advocate to our state lawmakers. They have the power to create state level Office of Civil Rights at the state level. It just doesn't have to be at the federal level, and then we blame the president. The state lawmakers have the power, guys. So be sure to write to your governor. Be sure to write to our state lawmakers. Right now, it's Governor Kay Ivey as of this video, and we have several representatives. So be sure and write letters to them asking them to please prioritize children with disabilities. All right, guys. So those are the resources if you're in Alabama that you can use to advocate for your children. Remember the advocacy systems, they are available in every single state. Again, I've done plenty of videos about those. And in Alabama, even though there is a scarcity of resources, we still have resources available to help advocate for our kids with disabilities. And that's it for today, guys. If you found this video helpful, please like, please share, please subscribe, and please, by all means, protect your peace and your mental health by any means necessary. Take care, guys.